My name's Alastair. I graduated from the University of York in 2014, so coming up for 3 years. I'm back today to say hello to all of you and to tell you that it is possible to get a job with a languages or linguistics degree. Nice to see all my old tutors as well. I've had a good half hour chatting to Catty and to Maria, who some of you may have met already today. So very briefly, I'll talk to you a little bit about what I've done, what I did at university, what I've done over the last few years, and then a bit about my job at the moment and what kind of skills you'll need to do those jobs and how you can build those skills up while you're at university. So, did French and Spanish from 2010 to 2014 with a year abroad. On my year abroad, I went first to Paris, where I was at the Sorbonne for 1 semester, which was great fun. I then went to Argentina, where I worked for the British Council for the 2nd semester of my year abroad. Are many of you looking at studying languages? Yeah, a few hands, not very many. So a year abroad is obviously, I don't know, can you do a year abroad with linguistics? Yeah? Nope. Not yet. Maybe one day. So a year abroad is obviously an incredible opportunity during your university degree, and one that employers look on really favourably, because it shows that you've been out there, you've been out of your comfort zone, you've either worked or you've studied in another country, perhaps even in another language. So it's a really, really incredible opportunity to have. So my year abroad between Paris and Argentina, I then came back for my final year at York. I then went to El Salvador just after graduating. I was there for about 4 months, so speaking a bit more Spanish. I was working on the International Citizen Service Program, which is run by the Department for International Development. It's open to 18 to 25-year-olds. I'm not here to push ICS, but it is another great thing to do, to get involved in some kind of volunteering. It's also available if you want to do it during your uni holidays. You guys will probably all be eligible. So I'd get there before it all gets cut, which might happen. Then, the bit I'm really here to talk to you about, I came back to the UK and started working for Accenture, largely kind of in a very general sense. We look at clients' organizations and we work out things that could be improved, basically. But it's not just about the kind of strategy stuff at the start, where you think about what could be different and what could be better. It's also about actually working with the client to deliver and implement that solution. So it might be technology-based. It might be something more in their HR department. It might be something in their systems. But basically, a client will either come to us and say, we've got this issue. How can you help us? And so we work almost always with different clients. So we work in client teams. Some of the client projects I've worked on. So remember that I'm a French and Spanish graduate. So you might look at these clients and think, how does that fit in? I thought very much the same when I first got there. I arrived fresh back from El Salvador and found myself in Canary Wharf in London with my first client at Credit Suisse, big investment bank. I was working there as a business analyst. So I had 0 business experience. I'd lots of experience in the French and Spanish speaking world, France and the Second World War, military dictatorships in Argentina, that sort of stuff. Credit Suisse weren't very interested in that. But what I did have was an analytical mind, the ability to solve problems, all of that stuff that I'd built up during my degree. So I'd read analytically, I'd written essays where I'd thought about the issues and how I could go on to solve those. And all of that is hugely, hugely useful with all of our clients. As an analyst, when you're at the beginning of your career, you're never going to be sat in front of a managing director and on your own asked how to fix their problem. That won't happen. But you can be a really important cog whether you have business knowledge or not. So Credit Suisse for about 6 to 8 months, I think it was. Then I went to the NHS, so a huge change again, going from a big investment bank to kind of one of the mainstays of the public sector. As an analyst at Accenture, you really do have the opportunity to move around. So if you're maybe not sure about the industry that you want to work in, it's a great opportunity because you could work with banks, with oil and gas companies, with the police, with the NHS. So there I was a training communications analyst. Again, hugely important, my degree, in that role, because I think as a linguist or speaking languages, communication is a huge skill that you build up while you're doing your degree. We do a lot of presentations with our clients, and I always, having spent nearly 10, 15 years doing presentations, standing up in class and speaking in another language, in French or Spanish, doing presentations in English always felt like a bit of a bit more relaxing. I know English. I don't really have to think too much about it. So presentation is something that you definitely learn while you're doing a linguistics or languages degree. So that was really helpful. I then went to RBS, where I worked on one of our internal teams, looking after some of our leadership, so some very senior people. I was doing work for them. And now just started at HSBC as my new client. So just getting to grips with that this year. The other thing I wanted to just mention, which I've maybe slightly mentioned already, oh, it's gone over, never mind. What do companies like Accenture actually look for in a graduate? So communication, obviously, as we've mentioned. We're talking to our colleagues, our clients, all the time, and it's the number one skill that you need to have. Pretty much for any job, communication is hugely important and something that you will definitely develop while you're doing a languages or linguistics degree. Strategic thinking, so when we go to clients and we have to think about how to solve their problems, we obviously have to be able to think about it in that kind of way. So you do that when you're given an essay brief and you're thinking, how on earth am I going to answer this question? Where do I start? That's something, again, that you'll develop. Problem solving, very similarly. Once you've identified the issue, you need to solve it. How are you going to get around that? Whether that's working in a group, doing a group presentation for a linguistics module, you'll definitely be solving problems throughout your degree. And next, leadership. I mean, leadership is one that you might think is difficult to develop those skills without it being in a professional scenario, particularly while you're quite junior. But actually, we're in leadership positions all the time, whether that's in a society at university. I mean, at York, there are so many sports teams. There are, societies for every single interest, and some for some pretty peculiar interests as well. So if you are involved in those, you benefit as a team member, as a team leader. Again, when you're working in groups for presentations, it all helps. And above all else, be proactive. Care about something, be passionate about something. I did a recruitment event recently. I guess you guys are still quite early on. Careers may not be at the forefront of your mind just yet. But some people, when they get to second year, third year, they're thinking, I haven't done any internships. I don't really know anything about business. It really doesn't matter, I would say. I don't know whether Accenture would necessarily agree with me. But what's so important is being passionate about something and being, I always say, be interesting and be interested. If you can really demonstrate to someone in an interview that you care passionately about El Salvador or development or French or phonetics, whatever it might be, if you really care and they can tell, people will remember you. So be proactive. And I've written at the bottom, they're all skills that you can develop at university, and they really are. And they're not just skills that you need to have done an internship or have working experience to do. They're all things that you can directly get from your degree and take on into your career.